The doors of your car will close automatically. Please keep your head and arms inside and remain seated at all times. And please, no smoking. Thank you.
Matterhorn Matt presents Matterhorn Mondays.
Hey there, Mountaineers. Welcome to episode 19 of Matterhorn Mondays. I'm your host, Matterhorn Matt.
I'm Alex the Historian.
And today we're joined by Dallon from Offhand Disneyland. And for the new viewers who don't know who he is, why don't you go ahead and explain your channel to them? Sort of just let them know what kind of videos you make.
Well, you know, nice being here, first of all. I make all sorts of Disney-centric videos. I have a series called Diz News where I share just recent Disney parks news, everything you could want to, know about the parks. And my main videos focus mainly around history of Disneyland and some secrets that some people may not know about the Disneyland parks. And not only Disneyland, but Walt Disney World and other Disney parks around the world like Paris and stuff.
Yeah, guys, he makes really awesome videos. You should definitely go out and give him a subscribe and a thumbs up on his recent video, and I'll link his channel down in the description. Yeah, let's go ahead and get started. Today's topics are the possibility of a third gate with Fox properties, or possibly adding them into Disneyland itself, and has Disneyland moved away from animatronics? That's one I'm sort of really excited to get into. So, let's start off with the first topic. Now, we sort of touched on this a couple podcasts ago when we discussed Disney's buyout, well, not really buyout, but Disney's buying of Fox. And this has really been kind of just itching at my brain, whether or not Disney is going to sort of incorporate the new properties they've acquired, like Alien or Bob's Burgers, is one of my my big exciting things that Disney's now acquired. But let's go ahead and start off with Alex. What are your initial thoughts on adding the Fox properties to Disneyland, or even creating a third gate to incorporate all these new properties into the parks?
Honestly, okay, I would say that it would be kind of cool if they created a third gate to do these things, because, I mean, for one thing, I would love to see the Alien franchise made into like rides and stuff like that at Disney. And so unfortunately though, I wouldn't want to see Alien at Disneyland. I don't know, it's not really a family friendly movie, or movie franchise I should say. But if it was in a third gate that had Fox properties and things like that, and probably even properties from Marvel and things like that, then most definitely I would love to see something with Alien. Yeah.
What about you, Dallon? What are your thoughts on this?
Oh, my mind is moving at a mile a minute right now. I have so many ideas. So, I know a lot about Disneyland. I'm not trying to toot my own horn here or anything, but I know plenty about Disneyland. And over in Florida, Walt Disney World, actually, if you do recall, the Great Movie Ride in Hollywood Studios had a scene from Alien. I think Alien 2 in the attraction. So that has been with Disney for a little while, and the extraterrestrial alien encounter is something that the Imagineers were first hoping to make with the Xenomorph, the alien from the Fox franchise. But obviously with copyright and stuff, it fell through, so they had to use their own alien. But when it comes to a third gate, I think obviously land is a big thing, but I feel like, knowing Disney, eventually at some point they could pull it off. And as far as a third gate featuring the Fox properties, I think it's very plausible. I think it's even more plausible to see them popping up in DCA when the Marvel expansion happens with Wolverine and the X-Men, and then again, like you said, that third gate with not lesser known obviously, but just other properties like you said, Bob's Burgers, maybe even the Simpsons coming over to Disneyland. So
oh geez, the Simpsons, I forgot about that.
Now, what's
Oh.
interesting about The Simpsons is that Universal already has a sort of ride dedicated to The Simpsons. I've never been on it, but I've passed by it a couple times. It just didn't really pique my interest, but that's sort of a sort of interesting point to add when we're talking about adding The Simpsons. But I mean, I do feel like these properties would be a better fit in DCA, but I mean, knowing Disney, they'll probably throw in some of these properties into Disneyland Park. But I mean, Avatar is now officially owned by the Disney company, and they've already built the Land of Pandora and Animal Kingdom, and I'd be really excited if that property eventually makes its way down to our neck of the woods in Disneyland.
Mm-hmm.
Oh man, I would too. I mean, I would love to see Pandora here in California. I mean, I really want to go back to Disney World to see it over there too. But it'd be great to have that here, along with the other types of properties too. I mean, but it's weird. I hope though that they never bring Simpsons into their park.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, they'd probably throw it in a corner of DCA, but I mean, I'm sure we'd all be fine with having The Simpsons in like the very back of DCA, not like in any prominent feature in Disneyland Park itself.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I mean, when it comes to these Fox properties that have now been acquired by Disney, obviously on the East Coast, Disney can't do basically any Marvel IP-related things that aren't already being done by Universal, so that really kind of puts a limit on what Walt Disney World has when it comes to Marvel stuff. I mean, they've already done the Groot meetup, or what is it, the Star-Lord and Groot meetup, or whatever it is, and they're planning the Guardians of the Galaxy roller coaster in Epcot, but I feel like properties like The Simpsons and all those, all those properties would be a better fit in, say, Hollywood Studios and Walt Disney World than in Disneyland. I mean, you never know with Disney these days. They could very much throw in The Simpsons in, I don't know, Tomorrowland for all we know. I mean, it could happen for what they've done in recent years.
Now, off the top of your heads, what are other famous Fox properties? Because I can't think of any at the moment.
Now, there's Alien, of course. There's The Simpsons. I believe Family Guy. I'm not 100% sure.
I do
Family
believe,
Guy.
and Futurama are in there too.
Oh,
so there's
yes.
definitely a
What?
potential Tomorrowland tie-in there.
Oh my goodness. Imagine a Tomorrowland at Disneyland with the Futurama characters in it. That would
Oh,
be
boy.
something.
Buffy the Vampire Slayer, How I Met Your Mother, Ice Age, Futurama, Firefly, The X-Files. That's what I'm reading right here. So that gives plenty of, like, The X-Files. I can see Disney doing something like during the Halloween season with UFOs in Tomorrowland, or I don't know. There's a lot of room for them to do something, especially in areas that we're seeing a change, like Tomorrowland and Disneyland or DCA, or even like back in Star Wars Land, back towards the back into Disneyland near the Fantasyland Theater. There's lots of area there that could be used for anything.
Mm-hmm. And
Gosh, it's so weird to think like all these properties have a possibility of being in a Disney theme park. It's just a weird idea.
Mm-hmm.
oh yeah, for sure. I believe The Martian is also on the list of now, quote, now owned by Disney, and I feel like that movie would be sort of an interesting tie-in to the not Mission to Mars, the Mission
Space?
Yeah, Mission
Yeah.
Space attraction in Epcot. That would be an interesting tie-in.
Oh, yeah, that'd be kind of cool.
Yep,
I'd
and
like
with
to
how
see that.
much, and how much we're going to see Epcot changing over the next 2 to 3 years, it's going to be near unrecognizable. So I definitely think that they're going to work something into this new Epcot change,
Yeah,
because they had to have known about this Fox deal when they were like it had to be at least in talks when they were planning the new Epcot.
For sure. And I mean, of course, all the stuff we're saying is just speculation, and if any of this does happen to come true, it's not going to happen within the next 5, maybe even 10 years. It'll be way down the line, possibly, for the Disney parks. But do you guys have any sort of last things on the possibility of a third gate with the Fox properties?
I feel like if Disney were to make a third gate, I feel like it'd be kind of more of a Epcot, like a Westcott style, because they were originally going to build Westcott in Disneyland, but they went and built DCA because they felt like it would resonate more with the locals rather than Westcott with all its crazy lasers and light shows at night driving the locals insane. I feel like if they were to build a Westcott third gate, or even like an Animal Kingdom-ish style third gate, or a brand new themed park completely, there's lots of room to add those Fox properties in, and lots of properties we see over in Walt Disney World, and some brand new original attractions maybe.
Now, when it comes to third gates, or even say fifth gate in Walt Disney World, there really begs the question, what else is there that you can make a third gate or even fifth gate, like I said, in Walt Disney World on? Because they've done wildlife with Animal Kingdom, they've done sort of futuristic with Epcot, they've done, you know, of course, the Magic Kingdom, and they've done Hollywood's movies with Hollywood Studios, and it's really, I don't know, I don't really know what Disney would sort of theme the whole park around, because I mean, Star Wars Land is too, I'd say Star Wars Land is too small to have its own sort of, you know, its own third gate. But I mean, yeah, it's really just interesting to think about what they would maybe they would just call it like Foxland or something like that. I don't know.
Well, if you look overseas, I was just thinking about this because I was out of ideas as well, but Tokyo Disney Sea is a experience, a park that you can only get in Japan, and that is unlike anything I think we've ever seen at Disneyland. Obviously, there's like kind of a Tower of Terror area, but aside from that, that's essentially only thing it has in common. Everything else is completely unique to Japan. So we got Journey to the Center of the Earth. You have a bunch of attractions that I think have their own feel. It's hard to have like a specific theme to like go off of, I guess, but I feel like Disney could come up with something.
Yeah, but then again, that was under the leadership of Tony Baxter, who is unfortunately no longer with us. He's not dead. He just doesn't. But it would be kind of nice to have that refreshing, I guess, sort of new original attractions in the park. I mean, Alex and I were talking a couple weeks ago of what exactly the last original attraction Disney created, and I don't think we ever came upon a final, I guess, final decision on what that was.
Yeah, I don't. I don't know what the last one was, but well, anyway, back to the idea of this third gate. You know, I was thinking, like, with all these different properties that they could put in there, it would seem probably smart for them to do it as a studio themed park. I mean, I hate to say that because personally I don't like the idea of the studio themed parks. Like when I went to it was Disney's, now it's Disney's Hollywood Studios, but back then when I went there it was MGM Studios, and it had a great way to theme and transition to these different rides and things, but I felt like it was just like another version of Universal, just a cheaper version of Universal. And I mean, that's weird for me to say because I don't really even like Universal, but you know what I mean? It seems like Disney would be trying to copy them by creating a studio themed park. But I feel like trying to tie in all these other new Fox properties is probably that's the best way to do it. Um, I mean, unless they did it as like some kind of theme park which was on a different planet, then they could kind of combine a whole bunch of things like aliens, like Pandora, and stuff like that. Maybe they could all combine it on some weird, strange planet. But I don't know.
I mean, that would kind of be the most plausible way, but then again, look at the way Hollywood Studios is going this nowadays. They've almost completely stripped the Hollywood quote backlot theme from it, with Star Wars coming in and Toy Story coming in, and there's only like 4 or 5 operating attractions at the Hollywood Studios at the moment, and it's really, I don't know, it's really interesting because I mean, man, I don't know. I mean, a studio themed park wouldn't really work in a Hollywood or right next to Hollywood, you know. But then again, Disney did build a California themed park in California, so
Yeah.
really nothing's off the table.
Right. I feel like California Adventure, Hollywood Studios have a very bad case of Tomorrowland syndrome, is what I like to call it, is that the future is ever changing. You can't really predict the future and put it into a land and have it still hold up. Even 10 years later, everything will be kind of outdated, if that makes sense. So like with Hollywood Studios, there was a lot of like with YouTube and TV shows, you can see behind the scenes of movies now. You go to the backlot tour, you see it in person, but you already know how that's happening. So they're trying to, I feel like they're trying to make more lasting IPs. Like that's why they're putting a Star Wars land in Hollywood Studios, is because Star Wars has proven the test of time. And that's why, you know, they've taken the Hollywood out of Hollywood Studios, and they're pretty much taking the California out of California Adventure, is because they realize that it's hard to keep up with these things that, you know, are just ever changing. So they need to make something that's their own or something that's timeless.
Now, Hollywood Studios is kind of like our version of California Adventure. Disney just likes to throw random properties in there that don't really fit with the theme, but I mean, that's what we get for putting all this money into Star Wars, watching the movies and buying the merchandise. But
Right.
So it's all our fault, guys. It's all our fault.
Slap on the wrist.
Now, let's sort of transition into the second topic, which I'm really excited to talk about because animatronics have been a staple in Disney parks ever since Walt basically invented them. Now, you really don't see many, quote, new animatronics these days. I mean, of course, you have things like the shaman in, I don't even know the name of the ride, yeah, I just don't know the name of the ride.
Navi River Journey.
Yes, that's it. I mean, you have animatronics that are as advanced as that, but other than, you know, those major tentpole attractions, you don't really see new animatronics anywhere else. It's mostly just screens, and I really hate to say that. Screens have almost basically taken over Disney attractions, much like it has with Universal, like with the Transformers attraction. I don't know if you guys have ever been on that. I believe there's like 0 animatronics. It's just all screen and 3D glasses. But let's start off with Dallon. What are your thoughts on whether Disney is moving away from animatronics in its parks?
So this is pretty interesting to me to talk about because I like to look at both sides, and I do agree. Like, I was writing Flight of Passage, and believe me, I loved Flight of Passage. I love everything about that ride. It was amazing, probably the best ride at Animal Kingdom, maybe even on property at Walt Disney World, but it's no Haunted Mansion. I mean, it's interesting to see how Disney adapts to the times. Me and my friend were talking about this recently. They've been building a lot of projection-faced animatronics. I don't know if you noticed this, but it's mostly at Walt Disney World with the Seven Dwarfs and in Frozen. All the animatronics are backlit projections. So I feel like if they were to keep doing animatronics, that is the direction they're going. And I don't necessarily enjoy projection animatronics because they look extremely, it's a projection. But I feel like if Disney were to, like I said, do another original attraction. Maybe Mickey's Runaway Railway in Hollywood Studios may have like these really good animatronics, but we never know until it opens, obviously. I just feel like if Disney were to do another original attraction, similar in vein to Spaceship Earth, Horizons, Haunted Mansion, Pirates of the Caribbean, I feel like we would definitely see a return of the classic normal animatronics. But when it comes to Disney moving away from animatronics in general, I feel like they have a good grasp on whether or not to include them based on the kind of experience that they want to give. Because let's say Pirates of the Caribbean Battle for the Sunken Treasure in Shanghai is a mixture of screens, practical effects, and normal Pirates of the Caribbean style animatronics. And the Ratatouille ride that's coming to Epcot and is in Disneyland Paris right now, that's just a straight up screen attraction. So I don't know. I feel like it'll be interesting what approaches they'll want to take for certain attractions when it comes to immersion and how they want to do it. So yeah, that's all I have to say about that.
Alex, what about you?
Well, okay, so I think that projection-based attractions can be good if they use the projections really more as a background rather than the star of the show. So, like, for instance, they created the new Pirates of the Caribbean ride at Shanghai, and I was so excited for it at first because while I was watching the construction of it and kind of anticipating things, I thought it would be a lot like the Pirates of the Caribbean we have here at Disneyland or at Walt Disney World, and would have a lot of animatronics, and these big rooms that they were building for it I thought would be kind of cool to see all these animatronics. I just figured there would be animatronics in there, and then come to find out there's like 3 or 4 in the whole ride, but the whole ride is based off of those screens. Everything that happens in the ride is because of those screens, and it looks kind of weird. Like there's a scene where you go inside one of the ships and you see Jack Sparrow fighting with Davy Jones, and Jack Sparrow he swings on a rope and then lands on a boat. And the way it looks did not look realistic at all. It just didn't. The gravity of the physics of the movements did not look right, and yet everyone is just eating it up. And so, I don't like the projection rides because of that. So I kind of wish it was like in the background, like if you've ridden the refurbished version of Alice in Wonderland in Fantasyland, they use a lot of the projection effects as background effects, just to kind of, to make things a bit prettier and to give it more depth. But they still utilize the original animatronics to kind of tell the story. And that's how I want to see Disney attractions. That's what I kind of expect out of it.
Now, there's really, at least for me, there's really 2 types of projection-based attractions. There's attractions like Soarin' or Flight of Passage, where it's, basically just you're sitting down and you're just watching a giant screen with like kind of you're in a motion simulator or whatever. You guys know what I'm talking about. And then there's attractions like you said, Alice in Wonderland, who incorporate the animatronics with their attraction or with their projections. And I feel like, I don't know, there's in the first sort of group that I just mentioned, there's really no way, at least in Flight of Passage, there's really no way that you could make the ride without projections. Or same with Soarin', you can't fly, what is it, like 50 guests up in an airplane over points of interests around the world. I mean, it's impossible, right?
Right.
But with projections and with the new cameras that they've created or whatever, it is possible with these motion simulators, and same with Flight of Passage. You can't transport your guests to, I guess, the world of Avatar and have them fly on this this creature and have them go through. I don't really know the plot of the ride, but you guys know what I'm talking about. And then
Right.
I feel like it really comes down to the whole idea of the ride, the whole plot, I guess. There's really, at least for me, there's room for both attractions, or both types of attractions, I guess. I just really wish that Disney would sort of go back to their roots and build more animatronic-based attractions.
Mm-hmm. I think the perfect example of, I think, what everybody wants, maybe I don't want to speak for everybody, obviously, but Mystic Manor, all these attractions I'm talking about are overseas, but Mystic Manor, anyway, is plenty of practical animatronics in the style of Pirates of the Haunted Mansion, but then, as you said, there are projection effects that do take a back seat, like there's a storm in the background that you'll see outside as a projection, but the physical sets always take center stage in that attraction. So I'd like to see stuff like that, definitely.
Yeah, I really liked the way that Mystic Manor looked. I mean, I didn't get to see it in person, but I saw plenty of videos, and the videos are really cool. I really like what I see there, and that's kind of what that's going towards what I want to see in theme parks. I mean, I get the idea of Soarin' or Flight of Passage. Those I can make do with. But if they're gonna start adding all these attractions, like they're gonna do Ratatouille and stuff like that, which Ratatouille is heavily based on the projection screens. And then I'm worried about Star Wars Land, because you already have a simulator-based ride that they plan to build, the Millennium Falcon ride, which it's basically a small simulator that holds 6 people. And then what's the other one going to be? The other one is going to be a bunch of ride vehicles running around between screens, is what I'm afraid of. And and that's not what I want to see. Like there's something about the original Disney animatronic based rides that they produce an illusion that makes you feel immersed in the environment or the experience. And and along with the practical effects that they have, help with that illusion. But when you have a ride that has so many screens and everything, all the decorations, all of the props are all on screen, it's almost underwhelming, because you know that CGI can produce just about anything that you want to show. Well, what am I saying? It can produce anything you want to show. So it's like, imagine if riding the Haunted Mansion was just going from screen to screen. You couldn't marvel at, all the plants in the nursery, or you couldn't marvel at the wallpaper and the texture of the wallpaper, or even, the ghosts themselves. I mean, if all the ghosts were on screen, you would not be very happy with the attraction at all, because it wouldn't really seem like a haunted mansion. It seemed more like a movie mansion. And so that's my little gripe about it, is that I really hope that with Star Wars Land, that at least the Battle Escape attraction will have a good mixture of, I mean, I know they're going to have projections in that one. They just have to. They're doing it in every ride. But I hope that it's kind of a good mixture. I mean, with the Navi River, what's it called? Navi River Journey. Is it? Anyway,
think so.
You got it.
Yeah. Okay. so with that one, they have a really good blend of projection. You see a lot of stuff around you. I wish that they had more animatronics in that one besides just the one. And, you know, I mean, I know what they were thinking. That one animatronic can do so much and move so fluidly that it would be kind of cool to see. But I think that other animatronics in that attraction would have really done it justice. Otherwise, it just feels like you're. I mean, granted, the way that they did the background and the environment is really nicely done. I think that as an environment based attraction that that kind of puts you, I don't know. I guess it kind of puts you in that experience. I don't know what I'm trying to say. Puts you in that experience. It's really nicely done, but it's lacking in animatronics, in my opinion. And maybe I'm just old-fashioned and I like animatronics. But, you know, like I'd much rather see all these three-dimensional sets than things on screen.
I agree with you. I mean, I've never been on the attraction itself, but when it first opened, I watched a couple POVs on YouTube. And for me, granted, I've never ridden the ride. For me, it was sort of underwhelming because you were just sort of... It was basically Pirates of the Caribbean without all the animatronics. And there's really just the environment around you to look at. I mean, like you said, of course, the environment is beautiful looking. All the lights and the fluorescents look amazing. But at the end, it's just the one animatronic. And I feel like you said, they were just banking on that one animatronic to sort of sell the attraction to everyone.
Well, here's something to give you guys a little peace of mind. I'm not sure, nothing's confirmed yet, obviously, but I was just looking through concept art for Galaxy's Edge, and I was comparing it. The First Order Battle Escape ride, all the concept art, none of the people none of the guests riding the attraction are wearing glasses of any kind, while in the concept art for like Toy Story Mania and Ratatouille, they're all wearing their glasses. So I don't know if that confirms anything. I don't know if it's just early development, but there's that to think about.
Yeah, and I believe I heard a rumor a while back that the Battle Escape attraction was going to have somewhere upwards of 50 plus animatronics. Now, that could be totally wrong. I don't even remember where I heard that from, to be honest. But I'm
liar.
So if it turns out to be wrong, please don't post mean comments because I don't even remember where I heard it from.
So just ignore what you just said.
Yeah, basically just ignore everything I said. But if I'm right, you guys gotta comment down below too.
There you go. Yeah, I feel like Disney is keeping up with the times, and they're doing it very well. And the projections on these screens, these like in the ride, like Soarin' and Ratatouille, it's really well done. Don't get me wrong, it's amazing. It looks really, really good. But like you said, I would much rather prefer moving through a set like the Haunted Mansion, where you can look at just the embroidery on a chair, or you can see the gleam of the knight armor in the Haunted Mansion. That's something that you can't get with projection screens, and yeah, I feel like that would be much more immersive.
Now, I feel like I'm sort of the odd one out, because I'm about to say something. I don't think the projections in Soarin' look very good. I don't know if it's just me, but...
Yeah, there's some times where, like, the polar bears don't look super real, and, like, the elephants... But I feel like the scenes where you're flying over Disneyland or the Neuschwanstein Castle in Germany, I think those look pretty good. Personally, that's just me though. That's just my opinion.
I feel like for me it comes down to the fact that there's like 6 other ride vehicles that have to have basically the same POV of what we're watching, and the screen is sort of like warped. I don't know, it just kind of, when you're sitting on like the very corner, it just looks super off to me, at least. I don't know.
Now, okay, so now I have a question. So, okay, we're talking about rides with animatronics in them, and I think the three of us are in agreement that we still like animatronics. We still want to see that. So would it be underwhelming to see animatronics that had practically no movement at all? Like for instance, the animatronics that you'll find in the classic Fantasyland attractions, how they have very little to no movement. They're just statues that have like one motion. What if animatronics became that? Because what was it? When they created the Winnie the Pooh attraction at Disneyland, and then I think also at the other parks, they're similar as well. But there's no animatronics that do any kind of surprising or amazing fluidity of movement. They just do one little animation and then it's done. So what do you think if animatronics were suddenly cheaped out and done that way?
Oh my goodness. I feel like the original Fantasyland rides kind of get a pass on this because I guess the technology just wasn't there when they built it, and it sort of just adds to the charm of the rides. I mean, I'm not really going into Snow White's Adventure expecting to see a Navi River Journey shaman level type animatronic of Sleeping Beauty, but but when it comes to the Winnie the Pooh ride, that's really one of my major gripes about it, is the fact that they're sort of like 3D, like not flat wood panels of, they're like, you guys know what I mean, they're yeah, you guys know
essentially statues with a movement. With
like the head just turns, and then like the arms are just, I don't know, it's just really weird. That's just one of the many problems I have with that attraction.
I think that if Disney, because you were talking earlier about how they said they're going to be 50, maybe more animatronics in the First Order Escape Galaxy's Edge attraction. I'm trying so hard not to call it Star Wars Land. I feel like some of those will definitely just be 3x3 stacks of stormtroopers standing almost completely still, maybe watching you go by. But I feel like if they were to go back to doing something like that, Disney would eventually, everything would come full circle, right? Everything's kind of circular. Yeah, it's a cycle. So they would make slower or not as many moving animatronics, and then they would eventually circle back around, maybe at some point in time, to the more dynamic, interesting, lifelike animatronics, personally.
Yeah, I mean, like, when you look at the Monsters, Inc. ride in DCA, I was very underwhelmed with that ride. I still am, because I want to like the ride, because it's it's Monsters, Inc. It's one of my favorite movies. I'd really like it, but the problem is that they gave it the classic Fantasyland look, which was very little movement, and it's because they wanted it to feel like a classic Fantasyland attraction, even though it's in the middle of Hollywoodland. But nevertheless, I feel like, okay, Fantasyland rides, they get a pass because of their age. But when you're going to make a new ride, any new ride, I think that the animatronics in it, if you're going to have them, should at least do more than just swivel left to right or bounce up and down. They should do more than that. And that's something that I felt really underwhelmed with about that attraction. I'm trying to think if there was any other attraction that's like, I wanted to mention the Indiana Jones Adventure. So what's interesting about that ride is it's got like 1, 2, 3 animatronics in the whole ride. Well, basically, I guess human animatronics. That would be Indiana Jones in the 3 different areas of the ride. But the rest of it is really more about the ambiance and the environment. So, what if attractions became more about that? I mean, okay, that's a wrong question, because the Navi River Journey is like that, but it's underwhelming because you're moving slowly through it. So I don't know, what if it were a faster attraction? Would you feel the same way?
Oh my gosh. I feel like I wouldn't feel the same way, because with the Indiana Jones adventure is so different compared to the Navi River journey in terms of I guess like action. I guess that's the word I'm looking for, because you're not really well, I guess it's because the whole environment around you is so well now I don't know. Okay, I'm gonna pass it off to Dallon. So I can think.
Good. Yeah, I have plenty to say about this. It's interesting. Because Disney does theming better than anybody. I think that's kind of undisputable. And even when you're moving through attractions quickly, I'm going to bring up the Tron coaster coming to Walt Disney World. You're moving through the scenes very quickly, but the ambiance around you still is eye-catching and its own thing. With Indiana Jones, I feel like the animatronics obviously have more fluid motions, they're more dynamic, but I think they only have like one or two different major actions that they do. Like Indiana Jones, the first one you see, pushes the door closed and then it budges back open a little bit, and that's pretty much all he does. So I feel like it's how they choose to dress up, I guess, for lack of a better term, to dress up these one or two movements that they have. Like if they were to try to make, let's just say Peter Pan more dynamic, they could use the same movement system that they have now, but make it more interesting somehow with, I don't know, with effects or with just how the ride moves. Because the speed for Indiana Jones definitely has something to do with how we perceive the animatronics in it and how lifelike they are. But I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's really... Oh, go ahead, Alex. I'm just going to let everyone else talk before I get to talk.
Okay, I was going to say, well, because it's interesting because when you look at the ride Dinosaur over at Animal Kingdom, it has a lot of animatronics, and they're huge. They're giant dinosaur animatronics. This is one of the reasons why I love that ride so much, because it combines dinosaurs with a fast-moving, thrilling attraction like, such as the Indiana Jones Adventure ride vehicles, and so it has a way of being able to let you admire the animatronics while still going very fast and, whipping around corners and things. So I guess what I'm trying to say is that Disney needs to find that balance. They in certain rides they have the balance, like in Dinosaur, you have that, or in Indiana Jones Adventure, you have that, or Mystic Manor, and well, I'll just leave it at that. So those three attractions, they have that balance, and so we know that Disney can do it. But then you come up with something like Navi River Journey, it doesn't have that balance. It's lacking in some way, and so I think that sometimes it just has to do with the budget, and
absolutely.
Yeah, and so I think that Disney needs to better understand where the budgets must go for certain attractions, instead of just saying, oh, we're going to give this much money to it. They should have a plan first as to how they want to design and create an attraction before they give it a budget. So that way they kind of look at it and go, what can we actually create with this? Because at this point, they're making money hand over fist. And they have the ability to create first before budgeting. So, I think that's what they should do. I don't know. Am I wrong?
I think you're absolutely right. I feel like the Indiana Jones Adventure was sort of the peak of the rides that we're ever going to get in Disneyland. I mean, I can't speak for the new Star Wars attractions that are coming up, but currently I feel like that is the sort of peak of I don't know what I'm trying to say. You guys probably know what I mean. Like the peak of just ride. I don't know. I don't know what to say about that, but I just feel like it's the peak of Disneyland attractions nowadays. And when it comes to Navi River Journey, I think it's kind of obvious that all, or at least most of the budget went towards the animatronic at the end, and they just used whatever they had left to fill in the rest of the attraction. And I feel like they could have diversified. That's the word. Diversified the money to maybe create smaller animatronics throughout the ride. I don't know. I'm no budget consultant, but yeah, that's just what I think.
Yeah, I would have liked to see some animatronics of, like, let's say those little jackal things that they had, or like that big monstrous, I forget what it's called.
I've never seen the movie, so I don't know what you're talking
about. What? Oh my god. Why are we even discussing Pandora then? You don't even know.
It's true.
Don't even worry about it. Yeah, no. I think that we know Disney can do it. We've seen Disney do it before. We're seeing them do it now, like we were talking at Mystic Manor and places like that. That it feels like in the back here in the States, all we're getting is really kind of those screen attractions, minus a few here and there, obviously with rides like Frozen and Navi River Journey. It's tough. It's in the middle for me because it's very short, very slow, and like you said, the budget is extremely. You can tell it went kind of towards the animatronic at the end, but the theming in that ride is probably one of the best theming I've ever seen in a Disneyland or a Disney World, attraction. It's just hard to say where Disney will go from here, if they'll go like towards more screen-centric attractions, or if they'll go towards the Mystic Manor style attractions, or if they'll just continue kind of doing both. We'll have to see.
Now, oh, yeah, go ahead.
Now let's talk about screen-centric attractions. I'm talking about Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway. That attraction is, I'm not sure if it's confirmed or not. I'm going to say it's confirmed. It's confirmed to have only 2 animatronics in the entire ride, and that's Mickey and Minnie. And the rest is just going to be screen along with your ride vehicle. And it's really mind-boggling to see where they're going to take this attraction, because there's really no way for us to know because it's being constructed behind closed doors. We can't like peek in and see anything, but and there's only been like 1 concept video released of it, and I'm really torn on the attraction because I'm happy that Mickey finally gets his own his own attraction, but I'm kind of sad that it's gonna be like all screen based. I don't know, but then again, they are boasting their new 2.5D technology, so it's probably gonna give me a headache just like regular 3D does. But what are your guys' thoughts on that attraction?
It's interesting because, like you were saying, yeah, they are really pushing the 2.5D thing with Runaway Railway. So I feel like if you're looking at Ratatouille, I don't want to sound like a hater, okay, but Ratatouille is really kind of just like the bottom of the barrel for me when it comes to projection attractions, because that whole attraction, you're in front of a screen. If you were to look down at the ground in the Haunted Mansion, you would see theming down there, but if you look down at the ground on Ratatouille, you'd see concrete. That's all you would see. So I feel it's definitely going to be different than just Soarin' or Ratatouille with just a screen right in front of you the whole time. I do believe that, but it's, yeah, like you said, it'll be interesting to see how they use screens in the attraction, and if they'll use it too much, or with this whole new 2.5D thing, if it's going to be something we've never seen before, and if it's going to blow us all away. You never know.
What about you, Alex?
Well, even though I was just talking about how I love animatronics, I'm worried about an animatronic Mickey. I don't know how that's going to look. That part kind of worries me, only because we see Mickey in so many different forms, and we've seen him in puppet version for the Mickey Mouse Playhouse, or I think it was. But now as an animatronic, I don't know. But as for the rest of the attraction being a screen-based thing, I feel like it's just too cheap. It's too easy. It's
That's
too,
the word. It's too easy.
Yeah, too easy.
Yeah, too easy for Disney, and they're replacing the Great Movie Ride, which had you know, I mean, I wrote it way back when, and I really loved it because of its animatronics and the Wicked Witch and all that. Now it's going to be replaced with movie screens, and it's just, I already said it. It's too easy.
Yeah.
I mean,
Now,
oh, go ahead.
Sorry, right when you thought I was done talking. Okay, well, I was actually going to ask another question. So, do you guys think that rides with animatronics versus rides with less or no animatronics, do you think that that's a kind of based on what park or what region of the world these attractions are being put in? Because, I mean, for instance, you look at Disneyland versus Walt Disney World, and you can see a huge difference in the way that people treat it. Disneyland is treated as like a rush to the next ride kind of thing, whereas Walt Disney World is very leisurely, and it's all about the ambiance and the placement of everything. So, I mean, do you think that people are in Florida more accepting of the Pandora rides versus maybe the way Southern Californians might receive rides like those?
Oh my gosh, I think absolutely you're correct. Don't ask me why. I just, I mean, when it comes down to it, I feel like there are more screen-based attractions in Florida. I think you might have already said this. I feel like there are more screen-based attractions already in Florida compared to the Disneyland Resort, and like you said, the guests over there are probably used to it. And I mean, I don't know how many people in Southern California go to Universal versus how many people in Florida go to Universal, but I feel like if you're like a regular to Universal, you're sort of just numb to the fact that there's just going to be screens everywhere in the attractions. I don't know. What about you, Dallon?
I don't know, because I definitely do feel like the attractions at Disneyland have, I don't know how to describe it. It's more of a classic, not even classical Disney feel, just a more Disney feel to them than a lot of the attractions in Florida. Obviously, at the Magic Kingdom and Epcot, those were both stemmed from ideas from Walt himself. So those all feel, for the most part, very Disney. But when you start getting into Animal Kingdom Hollywood Studios territory, you've got attractions like Test Track, or that's Epcot. What am I talking about? You got attractions like we were talking about, Flight of Passage or Navi River Journey, or even Expedition Everest to a certain extent. Expedition Everest is what I like to call the East Coast version of the Matterhorn. But it's the theming on that roller coaster is very Disney, but the coaster itself and everything about that attraction, aside from the theming, is something you could probably find at another theme park. Same with almost both of the attractions at Pandora. Obviously, they're very much associated with Animal Kingdom and Disney now, but if you would have told me 5 years ago that Universal was building a Pandora, and they built the exact same attractions that are in Pandora at Animal Kingdom, I would not have second-guessed that at all.
Now, oh my gosh, honestly, I don't know. I'm just going to go ahead and bring up the fact that Mission Breakout has, or I guess formerly Tower of Terror, RIP in our hearts always. Mission Breakout has screens, but they also incorporate the rocket animatronic, which is only really part of the pre-show, so I guess it doesn't count. But there are ways that attractions like these can be done well, like Mission Breakout, for example. The screens kind of provide I guess like plot for the story, or like not really plot, it just shows us silly scenes of the Guardians. Now that I think about it, the screens are not very well used in that ride, so I'm just gonna go ahead and stop talking.
I feel in Mission Breakout, the screens are interesting to me because they don't look like screens. I mean, the characters look like screens, obviously, to me, but it looks 2.5D, I guess, for lack of a better term. It looks like there's depth to them, and they open up into these vast, huge rooms. But I feel like they kind of use screens right on that attraction, because whereas in the Tower of Terror, it's just complete blackness when you're dropping, aside from the two floors, or I think, yeah, there's two floors in both versions of the attraction. But I feel I do appreciate how they kind of slowed down the attraction a little bit in some ways and sped it up in others.
Yeah,
but I do think the use of screens here, it's not too invasive, and I think they used it pretty well in Mission Breakout. It's not overbearing.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. I mean, I myself am not a fan of Mission Breakout because I didn't like the movie, and it just clashes with my personality. But as the ride itself, I think that they did a very good job using the screens, because for one thing, they wanted to make the screens look three-dimensional, but without having to make people wear those glasses, which would obviously fall off when they're riding the attraction. So the way that they bounce the elevator is helps to change the perspective on the video, which makes it look three-dimensional. And I think that Disney could learn from that for other attractions, because like this, well, for instance, the new Battle Escape attraction that they're building, because once again, I'm going to reference the Alice in Wonderland ride as the first projection you see when you go through the door is Alice chasing after the rabbit. And the really cool thing about that is it looks three-dimensional because they changed the perspective of the camera as your ride vehicle passes by it. Mm-hmm. So I've had people ask me, like, how did they do that? It looks three-dimensional. But all they did was, because they knew the ride vehicle is moving, they changed the perspective of the camera to match it, so that way it looked as if Alice was three-dimensional in front of the background. So I think that doing something like that would really help, so that way people don't have to wear those 3D glasses, you know? Because they're a problem.
I feel like 3D glasses are sort of becoming a thing of the past, along with really 3D movies in general. I don't remember the last time I've seen a 3D movie and actually enjoyed like what the 3D added to the experience. I mean, for one, the 3D glasses don't fit over my normal glasses. I have to take my glasses off, and I can barely see the screen. And for two, the glasses give me headaches. I don't know where your guys' stance on that is, but I really feel like those things are going to be a thing of the past. Hopefully soon. I mean, I don't know, with the upcoming Ratatouille ride, the fact that they use 3D glasses kind of disappoints me, but I mean, I don't know. What are you gonna do? 3D. I mean, they've tried these gimmicks. I don't know for I don't know how long. I remember. I guess I'm sort of moving on to movies now, but I remember a while back, for like, I think it was the Hobbit movies. The director tried like using a higher frame rate, and it was like terrible. But I don't know. What are your guys' thoughts on 3D glasses?
I for one hope they go away and stay away forever, because I don't wear glasses, not anymore, but they just hurt to wear because it's the one size fits all style of glasses, and like we were talking about earlier, it's just too easy. I feel like Disney could definitely, like they did with, like you said, Alice, or with Guardians, they could make a 3D space without having you wear 3D glasses. So yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I do not like wearing the glasses. I have a really big head, so like when I try to put the glasses on, they hurt, and then they get stuck, and then, you know, next thing you know, you're calling security to help them pull the glasses off your head.
Right.
Plus, you could get pink eye from the glasses. Who wants to get pink eye on their trip to Disneyland? But
it's magical.
No,
pink eye.
You know, for their what was I gonna say? In their defense, they wash those glasses, so they're
that's good to know.
Yeah, like, okay, for instance, like when you're riding Star Tours, the eyeglass washing center that they have is right behind Space Mountain, so they have it there, and then it's like a big washing machine, and not a big washing machine, it's like a big conveyor dishwasher, if you've ever seen one of those. and all the glasses go through and they all get washed. So to their credit, the glasses get washed. So yeah.
Oh my gosh. One last thing that I wanted to bring up had to do with Star Tours, and the fact that Star Tours uses not really projection based, but they use a screen to portray the entire ride to us. And I believe when it first opened, they didn't use 3D glasses. I could be wrong, but I'm not sure. Okay, they didn't use 3D glasses. So is there, let's see, is there a way, do you guys think, that Disney could make Star Tours without the 3D glasses? Say, to make it look as realistic as possible. I mean, of course, there's always the boundaries of CGI. Nothing is perfect. I mean, even in big blockbuster movies, you see CGI that looks awful. What are your guys' thoughts?
I think absolutely, because it's all about perspective and where you're sitting. Because obviously, if you're moving around super quick all over the place, 360 degrees, you can't really pull off a 3D space with our technology as far as I'm aware now, and have it look really, really good. But with Guardians, how you're just sitting directly in front of it. I feel like with Star Tours, how you're stationary right in front of the screen and the screen is always moving with you. I feel like that would, I don't want to make it sound like less of a task, but I feel like it'd be easier. It'd be a pretty simple change to make it so you don't need glasses for Star Tours.
Okay. What about you,
Yeah.
Alex?
He said all the words. I agree. They don't need the glasses. I mean, I remember Star Tours, back when it was the original Star Tours, and you never needed glasses. I mean, granted, if the vehicle were stationary, you would feel like you were sitting in a small theater. But the fact that the vehicle is moving and it's tilting and doing all these things that are reacting with what's happening in front of you, what's unfolding on the screen, it already gives it a three-dimensional feel. So you don't need the glasses. Honestly, that's how I feel about it.
Okay.
They could do it two-dimensional.
Okay, I'm glad we're all in agreement about that. Now, that's all I really had to say about this topic. Do you guys have any other sort of last points you wanted to bring up or anything?
I do, unless Offhand Disneyland wants to say something.
Oh, no, I was about to say, I think we covered it all that I was thinking, so go for it.
Okay, then. I got one last thing, and don't worry, it's not a question. It has to do with actually our first topic, which was about the fox in a park. So if Disney is listening and they ever build that other park or find a way to turn DCA into that kind of park, I would really like to see an alien-themed attraction, and I think it'd be really cool if it used an enhanced motion vehicle like the one in Indiana Jones Adventure, and kind of took you like in the Aliens 2 movie, where you get in like a military type ride vehicle and they send you into battle to like destroy all these aliens,
Gosh,
and so you see like animatronic aliens everywhere, or like even like movie screen backgrounds, but as backgrounds only, with aliens in the distance being destroyed, and then maybe see Sigourney Weaver in there somewhere. Like that would be really cool. That would be like my favorite ride ever. So that's what I wanted to say.
Disney, hire Alex the historian to make this attraction a reality, please.
Yes.
Come on now.
No, yeah, that sounds really awesome. I've always, I guess, like wanted an attraction like that, but I mean, since Alien is such like a hard R movie. Now, granted, I've never seen Aliens 2, just the first one, so I can't really give my opinion on this, but I really hope Disney finds a way to make this this sort of attraction, because maybe we could even have like toy guns and we could be like shooting at the aliens. I don't know. Sort of
Yeah,
like
then they
Buzz Lightyear's
squirt
Astro
like
Blasters.
green slime all over you. That's acidic.
Yeah. Oh, well, minus the acidic part, but... Well, anyways, I think that's just about going to wrap up the two topics we had. Now, it's question time for Mr.
Oh, good.
Offhand Disneyland. And we're going to go ahead and start off with Alex for his first question.
Always starts. Okay. So I was wondering. Okay, so as a fellow YouTuber, I make a lot of Disneyland videos, and recently I would have to say that there's been times where I feel like I'm running out of topics. And so I wanted to know, what is that like for you? Do you ever feel like you run out of topics, and what do you think you're going to do about that?
Absolutely 100%. I thought I ran out of topics like 6 months ago. Believe me. Honestly, it just comes down to, I think, having someone to bounce ideas off of and to help give you ideas really, really helps. I talk to my girlfriend a lot. She's really, every time I go to Disneyland, she's always right there with me. So she experiences it along with me. So we're always talking about potential Disney ideas. But I mean, it's hard. I hit writer's block. Every time I'm done making a video, I immediately don't know what I'm going to make the next video about, and I procrastinate for about a week until I find the magical idea, and I do it again. It really just comes down to knowing what you want to make and knowing what your audience wants, and kind of meeting in the middle, or just working towards that if you both want the same thing. And if you're running out of ideas, honestly, my best advice would be just to have someone to bounce those ideas off of, or just keep them in a journal. Keep a journal on your nightstand next to your bed, because that's what I do. I always have a little notepad, and I just write down little ideas, little potential things that I would want to either delve back into or just explain away. So.
Oh, okay.
I dream videos. Okay, it's my life, so that's why I keep it on my nightstand. So if I'll wake up in the morning, I'll be like, that's a perfect idea, so I'll just write that down.
Oh my gosh, I don't even want to count how many times I've procrastinated on writing scripts because I don't know what the next topic is. But yeah, for all you up and coming YouTubers out there, follow Offhand Disneyland's advice, and you'll never run out of ideas. Guaranteed.
Perfect.
Guaranteed, or your money back. Anyways, I'm gonna go ahead and shoot a question your way. Now, we all know you're a Disney themed channel, but what first got you interested in Disney? What was the spark that sort of ignited in your heart that knew you were just like a full-blown Disney lover, a Disney nerd, I might say. Well, not really a nerd. I don't know.
He's calling you a nerd.
Well, no, I get called that a lot, so no harm, no foul. My family visited Disney lots of times when I was younger. I think the first time I visited a Disney park was Walt Disney World during the 2000 celebration. This is going to make me sound like a baby, but I was 2 years old when I visited Epcot for the very first time in the year 2000. And I kind of lost interest in Disney after that. I thought, it was for babies, even though I was like 5 years old. But I remember second grade, we had to write reports on just some people, and we were drawing names out of a hat my teacher had picked in case we couldn't pick somebody. And I'm very indecisive, as evidenced by that last question. I don't know what to do. So I drew a name out of the hat, and the name I got was Walt Disney. And I was like, oh, I've been to Walt Disney World before. I think I can write something about this. So obviously the first place I went, Wikipedia.com. Just don't tell my teacher that. I looked through everything. I was pouring through all this information. This guy was really interesting to me, how Walt was always on the cutting edge of technology, and he was always innovating. And I think there's a quote out there with Walt where he says something along the lines of like, I would do more, but the technology just isn't there yet. He has so many ideas in his head, but the world just couldn't support those ideas at the time because the technology wasn't there. And that really got me interested. And then specifically in Disneyland, I think I'd been to Walt Disney World 4 or 5 times in my life before I'd even gone to Disneyland once. But because I'm such a history buff, I went to Disneyland, and it was immediately this was my favorite park. I loved everything about it. Everywhere I was going, everything just felt more, I don't know, authentic would be the word I'd have to use, more authentically Disney. So yeah, I spiraled down the slope of Disney fandom, and I cannot get out.
So what you're saying is it's your teacher's fault.
It's absolutely her fault, 100%. She did this to me.
She made me the way I am. No, just kidding. I don't know what to say. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, Alex, do you have another question you'd like to ask?
Okay, well, actually, I have two. One of them is not that important. Then I'll do the unimportant one first. How old are you?
I am 19, turning 20 very soon.
Man, I am always the oldest person on the show. What kind of cut rate production is this? Okay.
It's biased towards you, Alex.
I know. I was just telling him in the other episode, like I started loving Disneyland way before there was even like the technology that had like before there were YouTube channels and stuff like that. So it was like I learned everything from books, and so I'm just like, oh my gosh. I was actually very interested in how you started. That's why, because I was like, where did you learn your stuff? What did you? So anyway, my question is, you visited and met with Raleigh Crump, which is something that I've always wanted to do. In high school, I was setting up a meeting with him, and then last minute he had something happened and he couldn't make it to the meeting, and I never ever got to meet him. So I'm jealous of you over that. But I wanted to know what was he like in your opinion, and what did you think of him?
Rolly is, you can't really pinpoint it. Rolly, in his head, he's still 25 years old working in the Walt Disney Studios, because just the opinions when he talks about things like designing the exterior for It's a Small World or designing the Tower of the Four Winds for the World's Fair, his eyes just light up and he speaks like he's super young. And it's interesting because he's seen so much. He's seen Disney as a company. And someone asked him at the panel if he goes down to Disneyland still. And he says he does not step foot near Disneyland because he's one of the people who built it. And he says it's more of just a monument to what he did and what all of his peers have accomplished rather than a theme park to him. So it's just like going to a museum you've been to 1,000 times before to him. It was really great to meet Rolly. It was surreal.
Oh, wow. Oh, that's so cool.
Alex, we're going to have to try and set you up a meeting in the future now.
I'll try my best.
Well, you took all my questions when you talked to him. I was like, no, those were my questions. Okay, so, Matt, what is your next question?
Well, I guess mine's kind of like the basic question anyone would ask a YouTuber. I want to know what first inspired you to start your YouTube channel. What was, I guess, the spark in your heart that was the deciding factor that you wanted to give out all this information to people over the internet about Disney?
Well, honestly, I can say that I'm going to put it bluntly, Justin Scard's YouTube channel really inspired me to start making, because the way he was at Disneyland and he would go through the history of Disneyland. I live in the middle of the Midwest. I am not anywhere close to Disneyland, but I thought I know things about Disneyland that I've read or that I've heard that not a whole lot of other people would know, like the connection in New Orleans Square. If you haven't seen that video, it's a classic. But yeah, I wanted to get that information out there, so I was looking through channels. Bright Sun Films is a good example of one. Justin Scard, Tim Tracker, all these vloggers / information channels is something that I kind of built my channel off of. I just wanted to get stuff that was in my head just bouncing around all the time that I'd try to tell my family or friends, and they just didn't care at all. So I decided to set up a YouTube channel and try to talk to anybody who would listen.
Oh man, absolutely. I think that's how a lot of YouTubers come up these days. They see their favorite YouTubers or their favorite, I guess, vloggers. Vloggers is a YouTuber still, but they want to I guess, like, do the same thing they do. They have ideas in their head of what they want to do, and they just build upon the ideas that they have, and eventually, sometimes they grow their channel to be maybe even bigger than the people that they were inspired from. And it's funny you mentioned Justin Scarrett, because he was one of my main influences in starting my channel too.
Awesome. Yeah, I just like the way he set up his videos, and I gotta say, just don't copy YouTube channels, but definitely be inspired by them. Take what they do and make it your own. Definitely.
Absolutely, yeah. Alex, did you have a final question for Mr. Dallon?
No, I don't. I just had the 2 questions.
All right, guys. Looks like question time is over. If you guys have any other questions you want to ask Mr. Offhand Disneyland, comment down below, and maybe he'll read through the comments and answer some of them. Maybe he won't. I don't know.
Or we'll answer for him.
But yeah, guys, I think that's gonna wrap up this episode. I hope you all enjoyed, and we want to hear your thoughts on everything we talked about, the possibility of a 3rd gate with the Fox properties, or if Disney's moved away from animatronics. Comment your thoughts down below, and we'll be sure to read through them and like them and respond to them, because that's basically all I do all day, is just wait for people to comment, think of something to say, and reply to them. But you guys should definitely go check out Offhand Disneyland. His channel will be in the description. He makes amazing videos, and same with Alex. He makes amazing videos too. His channel will be in the description as well. And you have a Patreon, don't you?
I do. It's interesting. I've recently converted my Patreon from an exclusive subscription, exclusive content thing, to just a solely donation, because not something I could really keep up with. But it's still up. So yeah, you can donate over there if you feel so inclined.
I'll have his Patreon linked in the description, and I'll have ways to donate to Mr. Alex, the historian, over here in the description as well. And any last words, you guys, to the audience listening to us?
I'll just thank you for having me on. I had a really great time. Lots of insight. I enjoyed it.
Oh yeah, for sure. Thanks for taking time out of your busy day to be a part of our little podcast here.
Not a problem.
Yeah, I was really excited to have Dallon on board today.
I love it.
I guess you could say we're fanboys of you.
Hey man, anytime, just let me know. I'll be glad to come on again. I love talking Disney with anybody who will listen, like I said. So
awesome. So we might have him on again in the future, along with some other guests. Hopefully, probably.
You hear that,
yeah,
folks?
guys.
He might be a weekly installation.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my gosh. Yeah. Anyways, we hope you all enjoyed, and as always, have a great big beautiful tomorrow.